let me help you find your snowboard stance width. There's all sorts of general guides out there that'll help give a good guess to what your stance width should be. But do you think NASA guesses with their calculations when they send rovers to Mars and shit like that? Hell no. And with something as important as your own snowboarding, you shouldn't guess with your stance either. Right off the bat, some of the factors for choosing a board stance are your height, your weight, the board's length, the flex of the board, and how you want to ride on the board. Change any of those, and your stance should probably change a bit too. Therefore, I really recommend finding the stance that works best for you with your specific board by taking the time to find it through trial and error experience. I mean, what's the chances you have your board set up perfectly if you don't actually experiment with it at all? After you're comfy on your board and know how it feels with your current setup, I want you to play around with your stance and purposely try a stance that's both too narrow and too wide. When your stance is too narrow, like in these clips, you'll find your center of gravity is too high and that it's easy to be off balance. Presses and anything done on the nose and tail are difficult to hold. And with your feet so close together, you'll find you have to balance extra amount with your arms, which looks goofy. Also, going fast and riding switch feels extra sketchy with riding too narrow of a stance. Carving actually feels decent, but with such a goofy stance you'll want to swing your arms like this. Next, purposely make your stance too wide to see how different it'll make your board feel. The nose and tail won't flex much and won't provide you with as much pop for ollies and such when your stance is too wide. With a lower center of gravity it can be good for feeling balanced, but your motions with the board are likely to feel slow and take more effort than they should. After you do this and know from first-hand experience how both too narrow and too wide of a stance feels for you and your board, then adjust your width a couple of more times with taking the same process of making the stance maybe just a little too narrow and just a little too wide, and then really pay attention to how the board feels while you're riding it. Keep refining those width adjustments after each run, and in a handful of runs you'll have pinpointed a stance that feels best for you and that board. It definitely takes more work than just slapping any old stance on your board, but after going through this process, you'll have a new perspective on how your stance affects the feel of your board, and you'll feel confident about your stance knowing that it wasn't just a guess with how it should be set up. So yeah, if you're questioning your own stance at all, give this process a try, and then leave in the comments if it ends up leading to you changing your stance at all. Good luck with it, and happy shredding!